What do you want to achieve with the prize?
I think the prize is basically three functions. The first is the direct one. You want to support the people who win this award, who receive it. And you do that with the money. In some cases, the publicity they get is even more important because it gives them protection. It opens doors. We had a group from Colombia, poor farmers, who said to us before we received the award, when we had any problem, we went to the capital and we went to some ministry and the doorman wouldn't even let us pass. And after we received this award, the minister himself was standing at the door to receive us. So this is it opens doors, you know. It makes the sort of the ceiling higher in a way. So this is the direct effect. And then of course there are two indirect effects. First of all, other people find out about this work and they start seeing if it can be adapted to their countries, translate the material. The permaculture recipient from Australia, after he received the award, suddenly we got a request if we could help finance the translation of his books into Russian. And the third is more indirect still. Other people find out about this work and they get inspired by the recipients to do something maybe quite different. Because many people go around and they have this dream of doing something, they have a great idea, but they say, oh, well, you know, I can't do anything because I've written a letter to, you know, television, to the banks, to the experts, to the president, and they haven't replied, and so there's nothing I can do. And also they are told by their friends, you know, don't do this. In some countries, of course, you risk your freedom, maybe even your life, but in other countries you risk ridicule, you risk maybe professional ruin and bankruptcy, maybe. And so, you know, their families, their friends may tell them, you know, don't be so silly, don't take these risks. And so they see now, through this award, that there are people who've taken these risks, who haven't waited for anybody else's support, who've just done it. And with great difficulties they have, you know, succeeded. The award goes for work in progress. It's not for people who really sort of retired and achieved a lot. It's for people who are still working. But it inspires others. They know that if they take risks like that, then at the end of the tunnel there is an award, you know, the Right Livelihood Award, the Alternative Nobel Prize. And I think that inspires, it gives hope. It encourages people to start doing what the Native Americans call to walk your talk, to actually act and not just talk.
In your opinion, how does a fair global system look like?
Well, first of all, we now live in the age of climate chaos. And we are going to do so for the foreseeable future. And that really changes the whole answer and, you know, the whole question. Because as long as we could believe that there were no real limits to growth, then we could always say that, you know, fairness means that out of the growing cake, more and more people will get a slightly bigger bit. But now we really have to look at equity, at justice in a quite different way. Because we know that there are going to be limits, not just certain things which we could do, we can't do because of the climate. So now fairness and equity have to be based on rights. You know, we need the right to clean water, we need the right to food. That, of course, can't be unlimited. We can't have, you know, the right to wastewater. We have to make sure that everybody gets what they need, the basic needs, and after that we need to ration by price. This is not going to be easy, but it's the only way. We live no longer in a sort of win-win sort of cowboy economy where everybody can take whatever they want and say that, well, you know, let others get it in the future sometime. We now know that unless we share fairly, the future is not going to get better, it's going to get worse, you know, for all of us. I think this opens huge opportunities, you know, for cooperation, but it certainly demands a change in mentality. And of course it makes this whole question of justice, fairness, equity much more immediate. You can't anymore say, well, that is something for the future, the economics, the markets, you know, economic growth will take care of it. These are questions which again come into the political arena. There are going to be real alternatives. There's going to be a much more a challenge and a debate. And what we are doing, or I think through the Right Livelihood Awards, is to show that there are alternatives. You know, for example, we need to look at energy. If we want to have enough energy for everybody, we need to stop wasting solar energy and wind energy and other renewable energies, because, you know, the sun, which is shining so beautifully today, cannot be harnessed anymore tomorrow. The sunshine, which we have not used to the maximum humanly and technologically possible today, has been wasted forever. And this is a kind of waste we can't afford anymore. So the whole economics has to be rethought. You know, at the moment we are told solar energy is too expensive, but what is really too expensive is not using the solar energy to the maximum possible. And that's not a question of money. You know, whatever a society can do, whatever it has the work to do, where the work, we have the labor, we have the technology, we have the skills, that you can can also finance. So it's a question of really looking at the earth, the economics of the earth, that ecological laws have to come before natural laws, and then saying what is affordable. And within that to create justice, because without climate justice we will never have climate security. We cannot assume that a minority will live secure. So these questions are now becoming much more acute than they have been before.
You can stop the globalization, the gap between poor and rich is widening, and initiatives for human rights are blocked by big companies.
Well, globalization was created by politics, so really economic globalization can be stopped. You can change the rules, and that's why I say it's so important to work for new laws and international agreements, and not just sort of sit back and say all we can do is what we can do as a person. We need to get involved in the politics, because all these rules, no globalization, no big companies work without rules. They want the rules to protect their investments. I think as far as human rights goes, again, you can make them change, and it's interesting that one reason they change is not just pressure from their customers, pressure from the public. It's also that I hear more and more that young people who go into business don't want to work for companies who don't respect human rights, who they see as bad companies, who don't respect the environment. I was talking to somebody working with young global leaders, even in Davos, in the World Economic Forum, and she said, these young global leaders who 5 years ago only wanted to talk about how much money they could make, now they want to talk about values. So there is a real change there, and we need to build on that. We need to strengthen that. But to me, it has never been the case that nothing can be changed. I think the reason we are so disheartened is that we have ignored the issues of power. We have just thought that if we make demands, if we shout loud enough, then somehow the politicians will listen and they will change it. But you need to realize that the corporate lobbyists, they don't just shout. They go in there, they work, they bribe, they advise, they help draft the legislation. So this is why we need to get much more involved. We need to re-engage politically. In old Greece and what they call the cradle of democracy in Athens, the person who was prepared to get involved in the political life, and it doesn't mean becoming a professional politician for the rest of your life. It means engaging, it means being active in political parties, maybe going into politics for a while, whatever, but really engage. That person was known as a politus, and the person who did not get involved in political life was known as an idiotus. So there was a very strong realization that if you want to be ruled well, if you want the right policies, if you want the right politics, then you have to get involved and create it, and not just sit and complain that it's not happening.
Thank you, Mr. Uexküll.
Thank you.